Tired of doing the same thing day after day? Seeing the same people talk about the same things? Hearing politicians promise the same BS?
Don't let anybody tell you that it's corporations and businesses that create jobs.
My change in party will enable me to be re-elected.
Too many OBGYNs aren't able to practice their love with women all across this country.
Well, you don't have to anymore. Welcome to the Borderless Podcast, your guide to traveling, investing, and living beyond borders, where we talk about living the life that you want to live, where you want to live it. From beautiful San Miguel de Allende, smack in the middle of Mexico, with your hosts, Jonathan Lockwood and James Guzman.
It's Monday, October 27th, 2014, and as our open said, we are coming to you live from San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. My name is Jonathan Lockwood, and this is the first episode of the Borderless Podcast. The Borderless Podcast is the creation of James Guzman, who started the Borderless blog some time ago, and his title for it is Traveling, Investing, and Living Beyond Borders. And we're both going to be hosting this program, but I thought it made sense in the very beginning to make him the first interviewee. So, James Guzman, welcome.
Hey, Jonathan, how are you doing?
I'm welcoming you to your own podcast.
Absolutely.
How's it feel?
You know what? I'm really excited about getting this thing off the ground. You know, I've done some videos, I've written these blogs, but I think that this podcast is going to be something really cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. So, when you started the Borderless blog, when was that, by the way?
It hasn't even been a year now. Well, it's been kind of, slowly I've been adding different things. I'm a big proponent of, if you want to do something, just go ahead and get it out there as soon as you can and then kind of build upon it. So, it started with not being much information there, and I'm still building on it. But I really didn't start going at it that big for maybe, I suppose, this year. So it hasn't even been a full year that I've been trying to concentrate on it.
Okay, very good. And so what was your idea with Borderless?
Well, it started out as just some of my writings and other types of things. I think that in today's world, it's very important for a lot of young people, rather than some sort of a resume or filling out these applications, that you have some way that you can show people what you can do, what your skills are. If it's there's all types of things that you can do, but I feel like creating a blog with some things that you've done, whether it's videos or writing or just showing your talents, is a good way to get your stuff out there and to show people that might be interested in working with you. So I kind of I started it because I was writing articles and I was getting paid for them, and I figured that, well, I'd like to have them all in one place where if somebody's interested in seeing what I do, what I write about, I can kind of show them this blog. The topics that I always kind of have been writing about are traveling, investing, and living beyond borders. And what I mean by that is just, in today's world, this transition into the information age, there's all different types of tools. There's all different types of implications of what it means as far as how society will structure itself and what you can do. And I think that it really opens a new realm of possibilities as far as you finding what you want to do in the world, where you want to live, the people you want to be with, and just embracing it. And so that's kind of what I want to talk to people about. I want to try to get people to I want to, if they're interested in this type of thing, I want to have them understand from other people that have done it that it is possible, and for people that may be just starting on the path and have put all these different borders behind them, some practical information that they can use in doing that.
See, I totally identify with what you just said because, I just moved here 4.5 months ago to San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. And, as I was putting together the plan to do it for about a year or so, I had all sorts of friends come out of the woodwork to say, oh my God, you are so bold. You're so daring. You have such courage. You have such guts, such balls. And I started thinking, do I? I think Well, maybe it's just because I have the circumstances. I work from home, so I can just do this. But what I started to find is a lot of people love the idea of living outside of, well, my home country, the United States. They loved it. I never feel like I'm a big proponent of it, saying, come on, leave the United States. I really don't care to do that. But what I find frustrating is a lot of them want to leave the United States, like the idea of exploring the world and living outside of that country, but are afraid to do it, can't picture themselves doing it. And so they very definitely have not figured out a way to get beyond those barriers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's very interesting. I noticed, I've been kind of talking to people in this area as far as opening bank accounts in different countries, moving to different countries. I've been talking to people about this, and a lot of people have this type of fear. The funny thing is, I've never had that. When I was younger, I moved around a lot. I was a Navy brat, and my father's Puerto Rican, my mother's American, and there was different cultures that I had access to. And I've never really had this fear of traveling, going to different countries and stuff like that. But I understand that it's a big hurdle for others. So I guess that, was that a big thing for you, or you just saw that in other people?
Yeah, I saw it in other people. They had fear.
Yeah.
And I guess I kind of understand that. But again, while I'm not interested in pushing people out of the U.S., it does make me think like, gee, I would like to show them, you can do this if you want to. But I suppose it's like anything else. We're talking about a major change, but it can be just as difficult for people to make major changes in an area of their life. Right. And the fear holds them back. So I like the idea that this podcast, that Borderless in general, the idea is helping people move past that fear, showing them practical ways to do it. We're not here to simply, harp upon political viewpoints. We could do that, couldn't we?
We sure could.
But we don't want to do that. Well, there's enough of that. What we want to do is really help people get past their barriers and their borders and be able to live, travel, invest beyond borders, figure out ways to start their own businesses and operate them. Foreign bank accounts, foreign businesses, offshore companies, second passports. These are all things that will come up. But we're going to introduce you to real people who are already doing this, and take you back to the time when it was just an idea for them and discover exactly how they did it. So tell us a little bit more about your background. Where were you born, James?
Yeah, so I was born in San Diego, California. Like I said, I am a Navy brat. I actually did not stay there very long at all. I was a baby when I left, and I went to the East Coast. I went to Virginia Beach, Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, that area, and spent some time there. I spent a lot of time in Charlotte, North Carolina. Places like that is where I went to high school. In between Virginia Beach and Charlotte, North Carolina, I used to spend my summers in Puerto Rico, which that was very influential for me. And so then when I got out of high school, I really, at the time, a lot of my friends were going to different colleges around the area, and I went and I checked some out, and I noticed that they were doing a lot of the things that I was doing. Because I when I was 15, 16, as far as I didn't seem like there was a lot of learning going on or a lot of real world type of things that I might get a benefit from. It seemed like it was just partying, and I'd already done a lot of that. And so I kind of wanted to do something different, more serious. I wanted to earn some money, and a lot of the men in my family were in the military. So that was something that at the time I thought was a good idea. And so out of high school, I joined the Navy, and I was in the Navy for 4 years. I was on a ship. It was called the USS Baton. And we were the first ship at the Hurricane Katrina when that happened. We were mostly in Mississippi. And I was also in Iraq. We were off the coast of Iraq. I was in the Navy, so I wasn't, running around with actually on the ground, but I was stationed on a ship there. So, I did that. I really did not enjoy that experience. I found out that I have a way too insubordinate mentality to be in that type of situation. And I think it turned out good, because I actually don't think it's a good path for anybody to take, actually. I don't recommend people to join the military. I think that, there's lots of things that you can do in this world, but, giving up your free will to the state or to some other people for that, to do their, for you to do what they tell you to do, and give up your own life for that. I just don't think that there's really anything, any amount of money that's worth that. So what I did is once I got out, I started a real estate company with a friend of mine. And we were, this was in 2005, 2006. I bought a house when I was very young. I was 19 or 20 years old. And I happened to buy kind of right in the middle of this bubble, the housing bubble in the United States. And I bought the house, a condo on the beach for $85,000. Then, next thing I know, so not only did I buy it for $85,000, so I bought it with a VA loan. And I had like a 1.2% interest rate or something,
beautiful.
0% money down. And my entire mortgage was $560. And it was a 2-bedroom condo on the beach. I rented out the extra room, so I was only paying $160 a month. Okay, so it was great. And I was making, 40-something thousand in the Navy, So now what happened is 2 years later, when I was getting out, which was around 2007, I had my house reassessed, and it was all of a sudden worth around $150,000 now. So I thought, wow, this is how you get rich. I said, you just buy a house, you sit on it. I was like 22, 23 at the time. I just made, $60,000 or something like that, I'd made it, I felt like I had just gotten a windfall. And so instead of selling and getting out of the market, I doubled down.
Oh.
And so, I started a real estate company with a friend of mine. We were doing, flipping houses. I bought some other rental property. And anyways, that did not turn out well. So I ended up having to, right after 2008, I just looked at the houses, my business, everything else that I had going on, and it just didn't make any sense for me to continue to pay the interest payments on undervalued houses. I had, either I had to come to the table with tens of thousands of dollars, which I didn't have, or I had to take a big hit on the credit and just foreclose, And so that's what I did. I walked away from the houses. I gave keys back to the bank, and I then used the GI Bill, and I went to Madrid, Spain. I studied international business there. It's called St. Louis University in Madrid, and that was a wonderful experience. I can go on and on about that, but it was a kind of a smaller school, so it was a little bit different experience than your big. And also, I was in a different country, so there's some different experience. Anyways, so that was an interesting time. Then straight out of college, I really wanted to work for Peter Schiff. That was, a guy that had been very influential in my my thinking and
Euro-Pacific Capital.
Right, from Euro-Pacific Capital. So I went to the office in Santa Monica. Also I went to Mises University before all this happened as well. But so anyway, after I was done with that, I knew I wanted to work for Euro-Pacific Capital. I went there. I went to New York. I called up his radio show. I sent in resumes everywhere I could. Finally, they said, okay, well, how about, let's do an interview, and we're starting this new bank in Barbados, and maybe you could do that. So I went, I met Peter Schiff. I did an interview with him, with another friend of mine, Ash Whitener, and we both got the job. And we were the first brokers for Euro-Pacific Bank, which is based out of St. Vincent, but we were living in Barbados.
What was that like?
Barbados is cool. It's beautiful. St. Vincent is absolutely beautiful. Everywhere you look, it looks like a postcard. As far as living there, it's not really, my best, my top choice. Barbados is it can be very expensive. They have high tariffs. Just going out can be a little more expensive, and it's just, and especially St. Vincent. We spent some time in St. Vincent as well. And just not a lot for, especially a 20-something guy to do. There's like one or two bars. There's not a whole lot of the type of tourists and stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of that, you noted that when you were out of high school, it seemed like all the kids just wanted a party. So is it true that you just sort of put partying on the back burner. You sort of went right in the opposite direction of that. By the way, I noticed you came to the studio with a glass of something orange. You want to tell us what that was?
That's, a screwdriver.
That was a screwdriver?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Oh, I see. All right, very good.
It's my normal, my drink of choice.
It's your screwdriver.
Today
okay.
it is, you know.
So, all right, so there weren't many bars, you say, in Barbados.
Right.
So what did you do there?
Well, there was, there is a kind of a beach. Well, okay, so Barbados does have bars. I'm sorry. What I meant was St. Vincent.
Oh, St. Vincent.
Now, Barbados did have it had a very cool area that they had just built up, which was right by my house. It actually had a very nice cigar bar, and that was the place that I spent a lot of time. It was very cool, but it was pricey. It was expensive to eat, to go out, and everything was expensive because they have large tariffs. When you have these islands, the governments, they just have their population captive, and they just really give it to them. So, but I don't know. I certainly didn't. I've never been kind of this guy that was that just stayed in and didn't do anything on the weekends. I just felt like a lot of my friends were doing the same. It was the same exact thing that was going on in high school.
Right.
And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to see different places. I want to meet different people. And I wanted to make money. I didn't want to be, continuing spending money in college. So
gotcha. All right. So, what was it like working for Peter Schiff?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was interesting. I actually didn't have a whole lot of access to him himself. I mean, we would do these calls, with him, but for the most part, we were just down there in the islands, and we were just brokers. We were just from first thing in the morning till last thing at night, even all night long, because it's worldwide, it was the customer base. So we would just be making pretty much cold calls. I mean, hundreds a day.
Wasn't for you?
What's that?
Wasn't for you, that job?
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. The thing is, I suppose not. But I just had a better opportunity that came along.
I see.
So I'll tell that story. So then I'm a broker. I'm a broker there, and I opened an account for Jeff Berwick, who runs a newsletter called the Dollar Vigilante. And so as a broker, you normally get to talk to your clients, and so on some of the calls we talked about Barbados, we talked about St. Vincent, and the markets and this type of thing. And I told him about some of my experiences. Well, one experience in particular that I had with the immigration department in Barbados, where they actually kicked me off the island. They for no reason. They said that we looked like drug dealers or something. They kept us in a cell for 3 hours. No, maybe it might have been up to 5 hours. I can't remember. But we were stuck in a holding cell. They took our passports, and it was completely ridiculous. And so I was telling him about this story, and he said, "You know what? That's interesting. I think my readers might be interested in that. Why don't you write an article about it?" So I did. I wrote an article about that. I wrote an article about the business environment in Barbados, the investment environment, what immigration laws were about, that kind of thing. And he liked it, and it was published there. So, we stayed in touch, and he said, "You know what? We actually need somebody to help us with the hotel here in Acapulco." Mm-hmm. Now, at the time, as I said, I really didn't feel like St. Vincent was the place for me.
Right.
So, he says, "Well, just come. I'll comp you if you want to stay in this hotel. It's, in the middle of all these clubs and this and that." And I was like, wow, okay, you know what? Tomorrow I'm getting on a plane. Right. And so I did, and I got on a plane. I went all the way from Barbados to St. Vincent to St. Vincent to Barbados to New York City to Mexico City to Acapulco. And it was the hotel was the Las Torres Gemelas private suites. Mm-hmm. And so pretty much the first day that I got there, I had a blast. I really enjoyed it for a while. It was just everything that a young single man could want.
Right.
It was right in the middle of all the action, and I had a lot of fun, Right. And but after a little while, at about I don't know, probably 8 or 9 months, I started to realize that it wasn't a good place for me to build a foundation for my life, and I didn't like the way everything was going, and so I wrote an article about this that goes more into depth, and it's called "My Secrets to Success in San Miguel de Allende," about my kind of transition here. And the person that helped me a lot, which is Jim Carger,
right.
He said, "Well, you know what? Why don't you come down to San Miguel? because I was ready. I wanted to move on somewhere. I wasn't sure where. He said, "Come down here. You stay in my casita and check it out." And so I did. He showed me around. He introduced me to some people, and I really enjoyed it. So went back. Just stopped the business that I was doing there, shut that down, and then came back here and been here now for a year and a half.
Right.
So.
And just so happens that when you came here in June of last year, I was already staying in one of Carger's in his other casita. And I had been looking around. I'd been to Chile, and San Miguel was something that looked really great. Basically, it looked great because I read Jim Carger's stuff about it, and I had to come see it. And I took him up on his sort of concierge package, staying in one of his casitas, and you came down here along about that time. I wasn't aware that you were kind of frustrated with life in Acapulco, but I soon came to find out about that. And you ended up moving here sooner than I did.
Yeah. Yeah, just, I came down, I started working for Coldwell Banker Smart, was the first company I started working at. I was your standard real estate agent. So, and I continued to do the writing and things like that on the side. So.
All right. So San Miguel so Acapulco, contrast Acapulco with San Miguel de Allende.
Okay, well, I mean, it's pretty much 180-degree difference,
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize that. They think, Mexico is Mexico. Mexico is a huge country, all kinds of different cultures, different areas that look completely different. So, Acapulco is obviously a, party town. It's a beach town. Lots of, tourists, things like that. Not a lot of Americans at all, actually. Very, very small amount of Americans there. And San Miguel de Allende is not like that. San Miguel de Allende, we have, it's not a, well, obviously you go out on the weekends. If you're looking for a party, you can sure find one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of clubs and stuff like that to go to. But it's not, I wouldn't say that it's really based around this party type of thing like Acapulco is. There's all kinds of, one of the big things that I like about San Miguel is, it's, first of all, it's not too big and it's not too small, I feel like. It's not a city. There's no stoplights in this city.
Right.
So it's still kind of a small town. And there's a community here of all kinds of people from all over. Mm-hmm. And we all kind of mix well. We work well together. And we all know each other. So it, keeps people kind of in line. If everybody knows each other, you're not going to get away with being an asshole too much.
Yeah, it's it was Condé Nast's #1 best city in the world last year. Mm-hmm. And by the way, they came out with their 2014 list.
Right.
And we're still up there. We're still number 5, mm-hmm. according to the writers and readers. And so it seems to definitely be on the radar of people who are looking to expatriate big time. It's still kind of a best kept secret. Most people you talk to in the U.S. don't know about this town, but boy, when they find out about it, they love it. Mm-hmm. And it's a magnificent environment here. It's like being transported in time, hundreds of years, to some European city somewhere. Plus, there's a lot of cool bars and restaurants and art galleries and street performers and stuff like that. I'm having a ball here.
Yeah, if anybody wants to know about all the different restaurants in the San Miguel Allende area, all you have to do is add Jonathan Lockwood on your Facebook account, and you're going to get a regular update on the good places to eat around town.
There is not a bite of food that passes through this mouth that is not uploaded to Facebook. Okay, I just can't seem to do it, But no, absolutely. So that's your story, mm-hmm. and but you have a perspective that isn't shared by the majority of people from the United States. Is that correct?
I would assume it's not shared by a majority of people in the world.
And if you could put as reasonably fine a point on that, what is it? What is it?
Well, I definitely believe. I think you could categorize me as an individualist, that's for sure. And just that, not that I think everything has to, that we shouldn't work with other people and this type of thing, but that, our reality starts with our individual perspective of things and, what we value and this type of thing. So I think that it's very important for people to, look at themselves, think about what they are here for, what they enjoy doing, what they are good at.
Right.
And not just go down the path of, everybody, telling you what you should do, or this is, you should, just go to medical school and be a doctor, or go to law school and be a lawyer. Maybe that's not what you want to do. Everybody is an individual. Everybody has the things that they like to do and that they're good at. Right. And so, the first thing you have to do is just look into yourself, which that's a huge thing, is self-knowledge and learning what you like to do and things like that. And then once you do that, it's just about doing the work, and expanding knowledge in that area, working in that area, getting some experience. And another thing, the whole Borderless name that I came up with, it's not about just national borders, although it is. It's also about all the different borders. There's all kinds of borders, whether it's cultural or religious or family or all kinds of things. That is basically just people telling you, putting these borders in your brain, these blocks, to keep you from doing what you want to do in your life. And so like I said, I think the first thing is just to understand what it is that you want, and then not living the life that people have told you that you necessarily have to, and finding, so this is what I would like to try to inspire people to do with these things that we're talking about. Whether it could be just being in a bad relationship, it could be all kinds of things. That's just the point is you're keeping yourself from attaining what you can, your potential in life.
Right.
And so that's kind of the basis of how I think and what I would like to also inspire other people to do.
And the timing for this is good because, it wasn't too long ago. If we go back 10 or 15 years ago, the idea of looking to the group, it might have still paid off. But there have been changes that have happened in the last several years. With reference to college alone, wouldn't you say there have been extraordinary changes about about the value of a college education?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the prices have been skyrocketing, much higher than inflation. And I think that it's pretty much common knowledge now that most college degrees is a giant waste of time and money.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's something that is controversial among many today who just haven't recognized it. One of the things that I did, I work as a voice talent, so I do television and radio, commercial voiceovers, film narrations, things like that. I won't get way off into that, but I had a client that had me do group presentations. For 8 years, I traveled 44 weeks a year. And they were a private consulting firm that helped people prepare, families with college-bound high school students prepare for college and handle the financial aid. And it was something that we recognized for some time now. And I started doing that in 2004 and did it up until a few years ago. The question would come up a lot, is it even worth it anymore? And while you can point to some types of degrees that do still seem to be worth it, so many are not. 30 years ago, sure, it was inexpensive enough. The jobs scene was better. Today, it's just not in so many areas. And so I don't know what your point of view would be, but it certainly isn't mine to tell you not to go to college, but it would be to tell you to look at the facts, look at the data, look at the information, and decide really whether it makes the sense that it used to. People have put you on a course. They put all of us on a course. It took me 38 years, I'm 48 right now, to wake up and realize that this course that I was sort of set on and pushed forward to, this doesn't make any sense anymore. There's no value to it. And while I respect other people's opinions, I have my own, and it makes more sense now to live my own life and look to myself as opposed to the group.
I mean, absolutely. And, again, like you were just saying, it's not about telling people not to go to college, but it's just not allowing other people to tell you to do. Don't go just because people tell you to do it.
Right.
Think about it rationally. I mean, there's all kinds of things, especially, right now it's almost a no-brainer just because the prices are so high. It's absolutely ridiculous. But even if it's a little less money, say it costs you $100,000 or something, go to 4 years of college, even that much. Well, that's a lot of money.
Right.
There's a lot of things you can do with $100,000. Mm-hmm. If you want to be in business, there's a lot, you could start a business with $100,000 and learn a lot more than you can in 4 years of business college. You can travel. You can do all kinds of things. You can, take all kinds of classes, on building different skills. You can make a documentary. There's all kinds of things, I think that James Altucher put out that 40 alternatives to college. I think that are just great, and there's just so many different alternatives. But the point is to look at the alternatives, and maybe if you want to be a doctor or something, that's something that's necessary. But just look at it, rationally, and look at the real options, and don't do it just because people have told you to do it.
Exactly.
So, now, you're a good example. You didn't go to college, and you just stayed in your field, and you've been successful doing that.
It worked for me. It's ironic because, I graduated high school in 1984, and maybe in another episode we'll get into my story, but I didn't go to college because I was in a religious cult, and my family didn't give me the support to do that. And my point is not to blame them about that, but I felt like I was lean and mean. I got into the world of radio, and I did well, and I moved up pretty quickly, and it worked out pretty well for me, I've been successful in my work as a voice talent for the last 16 years, just working for myself. But I always felt like there was a deficit there. I used to, for many years, I felt embarrassed when people say, "Where'd you go to school?" I would say, I actually didn't go to college. And they go, "Oh, I'm sorry." That's what it used to be like. It's less and less like that, I think, today. But yeah, I'm a good example of that. And I remember going and visiting my friends for 4 or 5 years after high school at the various colleges, and it was a free-for-all. Oh my God, people, in the dorms, I'd go visit them and people be goofing off. They were just kids. May as well have been junior high school, pouring water in each other's beds, stealing each other's crap, and I remember thinking, wow, I got a nice head start on them. But at the same time, during that time, college was still low enough, and they got some jobs, and at some point, for a little while there, they may have surpassed me. But yeah, in my particular case, it's worked out well. I think that I've been a success in my business. But today, it's so much more important. We keep talking about the bubble that occurred, all of the bubbles that occurred, including in real estate. Well, there's a huge college bubble, with reference to the financing of college. And it's going to be an extraordinary chickens coming home to roost over the course of time with these kids who don't have jobs and are laden with all of this debt. Not all of them are going to pay it off. What would you say about that? Would you recommend that they pay off their student debt?
Well, this is a kind of a complicated type of issue. I wrote something about it. It was called Ditch Your Student Debt, 8 Ways to Get Out of Your Student Debt Without Paying a Dime. And there are ways that people can get out of student debt. I would definitely not recommend that people walk away from money that they've borrowed from, an individual or something like that. In this case, something has to give. Not that people were tricked into getting the student loan, but if you know about the monetary system, this money was created by the government and it was shoved onto people in much the same way as the real estate market and a lot of different markets. And there's lots of people that have, almost all successful entrepreneurs that we look up to in society or have at one point in time or various points in time gone bankrupt, lost their shirts. And how are they able to start over? Because of bankruptcy laws and things like that. They were able to start new and that kind of thing. Well, in this case, I just think that blaming the students for getting all this student debt too much and demonizing them, it's not going to help anything. The fact is that over 40% of people, almost 50% of the outstanding loans today are not being paid back currently. Mm-hmm. And that's just the way. So what are we, you can't just sit there and point the finger and get angry about it. What can people do? So that's kind of like what I'm talking about with this podcast. I like to give people practical advice. Okay, we're in this shitty situation. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's okay. We know that. What are you going to do about it? Okay, what are some tools that you can do? There are all kinds of things, and so, I would say that if you can have the opportunity, there's lots of different ways that you can get out of paying your student loans, and most people are just simply not paying.
Right.
They're just simply not paying, and we'll see how this all works out. I don't know how it's going to work out.
Right. You know, I feel the same way about that. I mean, it's very difficult. I am not one to encourage people to walk away from debts that they've incurred of their own sound mind. At the same time, if you do decide to walk away, ditch your student debt, as you put it, you have to be willing to accept the ramifications. And there will be ramifications. They're usually in your whatever contract you have. So if you're willing to do that, that is an option for you. But far more important than that, let's maybe not focus on that. Let's talk about not accumulating that debt.
Yes.
You know, in the first place. And so if you're going to go to college, you come from a family that's been to college for generations, maybe the same school, and it's just part of your culture and everything like that, fine. You know, if you want to do it, just understand what you're getting into and reconsider, if you've a mind, is this really the best thing for me at this point in time?
Yeah. And I just, you know, I really don't want to continue to pile on my generation, you know, because it's, although, you know, a lot of people say, you know, that the millennial generation, you know, I don't know if I'd be considered a millennial, not actually, but anyways, the younger generation, I'm somewhere in between X and Y or whatever. But that they're, you know, lazy, they're always, you know, just on their iPhones and they don't know anything, you know, whatever the people accuse them of.
Right.
But I mean, the fact is they've gotten into this well, in the United States, they're in this system where there's not a lot of jobs for them. Good jobs, good paying jobs. You know, a lot of the older people, the baby boomers, have not saved for retirement. It's just they haven't, and they have to continue in these jobs that otherwise would be opened up for younger people to earn some type of experience. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they're in the United States. There isn't a whole lot of these entry-level jobs or other types of jobs that they're looking for. And they don't have a lot of marketable skills. They went and spent all this money and spent all this time in college. And for the most part, they don't have any type of marketable skill, meaning that if you were to just go to some entrepreneur and he's looking for someone to do something, what value can you produce for him? Can you write? Can you do some type of SEO? Can you provide, you know, help him with his website? Can you do some, you know, some marketing thing or organizer or what? I mean, what can you do? What can you bring to the table?
Right.
And so, you know, a lot of people have been not learned to think like that. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like they're in a really bad situation. And so, you know, I'd like to hope that, you know, some of them I can inspire to think outside the box and build their own skill set and learn that there's all kinds of opportunities. It might necessarily be in the city you live in, the state you live in, or even the country you live in.
Right.
You know.
So we've talked quite a lot about, you know, the younger generation, for instance, but the reality is this podcast may not be, you know, solely focused on that. We're already beginning to accumulate the guests, our list of guests, and some of them have already said they're going to be on. But why don't we talk about give us an idea about what type of guests that we're going to be featuring on this podcast?
Sure. Well, I always like to talk to entrepreneurs that have gone to another country and started their own business and been successful at it.
Right.
I like to listen to, you know, first of all, hear about their story. I think that it not only can it inspire you to do that, but it can also give you some, you know, some on the ground advice on how they did it, some mistakes that they made, and hopefully you don't have to reinvent the wheel in that type of area. I also would like to talk to some people about, you know, things like getting a second passport outside of the United States. How can you go about doing that? Right. You know, different types of tax issues. You know, say that, you know, if you do open a business in another country, what does that mean? Does that mean you save on taxes?
Right.
Does it mean it's worse? Or how easy is that? Does that mean you have to pay an accountant a bunch of money? Or, you know, these types of things. A lot of people don't know. So, you know, opening, whether it's, you know, opening bank accounts and also thinking about investing as far as, you know, putting money in different currencies in different countries, and, you know, investing in real estate, buying real estate in different countries. How can you do that? How can you go about doing that? How can you go about starting a business, opening a corporation in a different country? Right. How easy is that? So I want to talk to people about that kind of thing without getting too technical.
Right.
But, you know, just give some people some type of advice and hopefully have some people that, if people are interested in this type of thing, they can contact these people. So it's we won't just be sitting here talking about things that, sound nice, but it actually practical things, practical people that you can contact, some things that some steps you can take in order to take more control of your life.
Right. Now, you and I both have lots of friends who live internationally. Quite a few of them are from, Europe, maybe South America, maybe here in Mexico. But lots and lots and lots of them are from the U.S. These people are either living outside of the States or they're presently in the States and really badly want to get out. While we have no interest in, again, becoming this big political bitch fest, at the same time, there are certain issues that we have to face right now. For instance, there was a time when the United States of America was a much more easy place to start a business and make it successful. Well, today, it's a little bit more of a challenge. And so, like James is saying here, there are other options. For instance, is there a way that you can minimize your taxation? These are the type of questions that we want to be able to deal with. Having location-independent businesses, being able to work internationally wherever you are. This is something that people just so badly want to get into. So we hope to be able to provide a lot of examples of people who are already doing it so that you can picture yourself moving in that direction and find yourself in the best situation when you do. Right. So I wanted to go back to something that you talked about. So the first time you actually left the U.S. was when you went to Puerto Rico. Is that right?
Yes.
As a kid, how old were you?
It's Puerto Rico is technically the U.S., but
oh, that's true.
Yeah.
But it's a U.S.
Right.
territory.
It's very different,
right.
completely different
Exactly,
culture.
Exactly. So that was the first time you left the 48 contiguous states here,
right?
And it was different. What was it? Certain impressions were made upon you.
Absolutely, it was definitely a kind of a life-changing experience. I think it's something that's wonderful for young people to do, to go out and experience different cultures, do some traveling, because I know that it was very influential on me. Just going, especially the fact that it was part of my ethnicity and part of half of my family. That I really had no idea about this before. I didn't know about Puerto Rican food. I didn't know. I knew some Spanish, not so much. I didn't know about the music. So you go to this place and wow, the weather's different. It's an island. The food is completely different and delicious. The music, very vibrant. The people were different. I certainly didn't live in one of the tourist areas or anything like that. I lived in Bayamon with my grandmother. And it was kind of just your regular kind of barrio neighborhood, and you'd go outside and everybody's just kind of hanging out, very friendly. If you wanted to throw a party, you could just buy a cooler of beer. You put the speaker by the window and sit out there, and the next thing you know, the whole neighborhood's over, and you got a party till 2, 3 in the morning. And I just was not used to seeing that kind of thing.
Right.
So.
The problem with Puerto Rico, though, from what I understand, is the women are all so unattractive.
Yeah. Right.
No, that's actually not the case. We know that. So that's part of it. It's like a lot of the people, when you really do shake it out. Again, I think probably you and I would agree. We don't like it that it's this way, but the reality is most of the people who are looking to live internationally are guys. Mm-hmm. Sure, there's an example of women who do it, and that's great. We love to see it, but most of them seem to be guys. And so that's going to be a topic, I imagine, that comes up from time to time on the board. Uh-oh, Kimba. Okay, so Kimba, my cat of 14 years, is making her presence known. She will come and go here and there, so please get used to a squelching kitty from time to time in the background. But yeah, anyway, so the other thing I wanted to bring up, though, is there are so many opportunities for people, to go to places that are freer, to go to places that are less expensive to live, go to places that are more interesting from a lot of people's perspectives. And there are a lot of resources out there today to tell you what's right for you. Now, the more reading I do, the more Asia looks very, very, very exciting to me for a number of reasons. But I don't want to go to Asia. I hate humidity. I flippin' hate it. I can't deal with it. So when I went to make my personal list, I started looking at the areas that I thought the climate was a little more conducive to me. That's why I went to central Chile. That's why I went to the high desert region here of central Mexico at San Miguel de Allende. But you may have other ideas. There are places in Asia, from what I understand, you can go start a business for under $1,000. There's so many opportunities available in some of these areas. So we want to talk about those types of things too. And give examples of people who are already doing this, already doing business globally. Maybe you don't have a business. Maybe you can't picture out a way to start one right now. Well, there are opportunities for you. Lots of people are leaving the States and they're teaching English. There are a lot of countries where people want to learn how to speak English, so you can go abroad, you can be a teacher, you can get rolling, and maybe on your path to starting your own business, and that's what we hope for you. There are also access to tools that can help you accomplish some of the things that you want to accomplish. I mean, right now, James, as you know, I'm trying to improve the search engine optimization, the SEO, on my voiceover website. I mean, there are people out there who know how to help me with this. There are all sorts of software tools, all sorts of new technology out there that are able to help people accomplish some of the things that they want. So we want to talk about those things too, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All these types of things, and let's get some people on from Asia as well, and we can talk about that. I actually don't have a lot of experience in it, but right. I'd like to learn a lot more as well.
Right. So it's the Borderless podcast, traveling, investing, and living beyond borders. We've been talking with James Guzman here. He and I both live in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. Did you catch that? I think I only maybe dropped that 9 or 12 times so far. But we intend to have a lot more guests on. We're already beginning to line them up. And we hope that this is practical for you. We hope that this is helpful for you, that it actually helps you accomplish some of the things you want to accomplish, and that we're not just sitting here yammering at one another, which we might do occasionally too here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really excited about getting this off the ground. And I'd like to make this an open discussion as well. So, if anybody has a suggestion on some people that they'd like to hear on, or, maybe some topics that there's a gap in that they need to know about, then feel free to reach out to me. There's contact information. Should be in any place that you're seeing this. It should be very easy for you to contact me. So please, subscribe to the channel if this is the type of thing that you're interested in, or like the video or whatever that you're doing right now. And let's create a community of people and let's help each other out.
Absolutely. Tell us what you would like, and we will figure that into the conversation here. So that'll do it for episode 1 of the Borderless podcast. Jonathan Lockwood and James Guzman signing off from San Miguel de Allende, Mexico.
Thanks for joining us for the Borderless podcast, traveling, investing, and living beyond borders.